Now, I firstly might say that which causes all our worldly problems is simply that one has forgotten who one is. Father Charles told you a moment ago who you are. Try to remember that, and life will become very simple and very happy. It's a case of not of learning anything, it's a case of unlearning what we've been given in the past, which was not the truth. We were told also, well, I don't know about you, but I know for me, it was simply that God is up there on cloud 9 and he's got a big stick and he'll punish you if you do something wrong. That's the first thing that's led by. We've been led up the garden path. We've been told that we're not worthy of God, that we're miserable sinners. And you know already that that's not the truth, that you're God itself. And the sooner that we come to see that and see the simplicity of life, the sooner we can enjoy every moment and return to that from whence we came. Of course, one of the things in my early life, when I was about 10 or 11, my grandmother died. And so after the funeral and everything, the relatives were all at the house. And so I said to one of them, I said, "Where's Grandma gone?" "Oh," they said, "it's so wonderful. Grandma's gone to heaven. It's so wonderful for her." And that caused confusion, because if it was so wonderful, why were people crying? And I started off in life thinking there's something they're not telling me, something they're hiding from me. And I found all those things to be wrong. The mere fact that we've been called to the avatar tells us that we're on a good position, shall I say, because we're given this wonderful opportunity of coming to know the truth. Years ago, when I'd go through one hardship after another, I'd look up and I'd say, "Lord, why me? Why me again?" And it was as if the Lord was saying, "Why not you? And here's some more for you." Because you see, while ever we're doing that, we're being self-centered. But when I stop saying, "Why me?" and ask the question, what is the purpose of my existence? Why is there suffering? Why do some people suffer more than others? Who am I? Who am I really? It's only then that God takes you by the hand. And I really mean that, takes you by the hand. When I first heard of Sai Baba, which was in 1977, but I didn't read about him until early 79. But the moment that I read about him, that was all I wanted in my life. I never tried to find techniques. There's no such thing as a technique. There's only such thing as hard work. All I ever wanted was the truth. I had a brother pass away in 1972, and it knocked me for six, and I had a bad experience out of it. So I said then, I must search all the more. I must find the truth. I must come to see that, because I couldn't go through this again. And so later, I my mother passed away, and it was so much easier. And later again, my father. And I was with him. I was with the three of them, as a matter of fact, when they left. And my father opened his eyes and looked up at me, and he said, "Not much more now." And I said, "Oh, Pop, I'm so happy for you. This is what you've been waiting for." And he nodded his head and smiled. After a little while, a smile came back to his face, and he opened his eyes and looked up, and he went, "Oh!" And he was gone. What was the difference between my brother and my father? Simply that I'd come to see the simplicity of life. So, in 2000, when the investment advisor embezzled our money, someone said, "How can you, Poppy, go around the world now? How can you go speaking? Your money's gone." And you know, the answer is so simple when you see the truth of it, and that is, we said to them, "Look, when the Lord gives you a task to do, the Lord provides all that you need to complete that job." And that was so. We went for 3 years, and what money we had left was gone. We had our tickets for Russia, England and America, but we had no money left. So I said to Poppy, "We'll go." Swami said to go, so somebody might feed us. And however, if you know Swami well, you'll know that he has cliffhangers. 3 weeks before we were due to leave, a check came from the Fidelity Fund that gave us some money so we could feed ourselves. Everything is taken care of. If I could say to you, and I must watch the time, I've only got an hour and a half, because I wanted to tell you a story. First, I'll make a statement. You must come to understand that we, not one of us, have achieved anything in our life. No arguments? No, we haven't. God does everything. These bodies are only instruments of the divine. God, which is the totality of everything, was totally unaware of itself in its pristine state of eternal silence. God, activity to experience itself. And therefore, this big play of supreme consciousness has come into being. And all this has appeared within that consciousness. This that we think is reality is nothing but that play of consciousness. And we don't achieve anything except how we react to the life that we've been given this time around. Swami was in the dining room of the house at Kodaikanal, and there was a man in there as well, and he said, "Oh, Swami, I must have done something good in my last life to be in here with you." And Swami looked at him, he said, "Your last life? 1,000 lifetimes just to get into this room." Can you imagine the enormity of that? So, we need to think differently. We need to understand that our life is set out for us at the very moment of conception. And what is set out in that life must take place. What is not set out in that life can't be made to happen. It's that simple. If we just learn to play out our role and enjoy life, even the hardship. I was in hospital one time and I said to Poppy, things aren't looking good this time. I don't know what the Lord has in store, but if He's saying it's time, let us just accept that. Don't worry about it. But Poppy wasn't quite ready at that time. And she said, Arthur Hillcoat, if you die, I will jump on your ashes. So out of fear, I got better. But you see, when anything difficult comes into one's life, one doesn't need to complain about it. One merely has to say, this is my life. Accept it. Because if you fight against it, you'll have misery. I'll talk more about these things later today at 4 o'clock, and also answer any questions you may have. But life is so simple, and if I've got time, I think I've got 10 minutes. Anyway, I want to tell you a story that showed me how clearly it is that we just have to go along with what is in our life. I didn't have a great schooling, very little really, and I'll just jump quickly through this, but I was, as a matter of fact, I used to wag school, but don't tell anybody. And what happened was this, that I don't think I even finished 6th grade at school. But suddenly, when I was driving big machinery and everything with the government, I had a feeling that my life had to change. I had to do something, and I felt it was my work. I had to change. And so I said to the superintendent there, I know how to drive this machinery all my life. If you have a semi-clerical job come up, I've got to put my name in for it. And you know, in 3 weeks I had the job. So I worked at it, and I was doing costing on ship repair. And I did that for 6 months when word came out that PA management consultants were coming into the department and going to set up a team of internal consultants. And I said to the young chap I was working with, I said, you know, Bill, I got a funny feeling I should put in for this. Oh, he said, Arthur, this is just to make it look good. They know already who they want. Apart from that, you're too old. I was 39. And I don't know what he'd say about me now. But anyway, I said, I'm going out for lunch, and when I come back, I made up my mind. But as I walked back into the establishment, the superintendent called me over and he said, Arthur, I hope you don't mind this, but I put your name in for one of these jobs. You see, I had to do nothing, it just happened. And so I had IQ tests and I had interviews and so forth. I finished up in 2 weeks' time. I had this job. I was going to be trained as a management consultant. I didn't have the background for it or anything. but the PA management consultants would train us to be consultants. Well, that training was for 6 weeks, that's all. And then my very first job, and I mentioned to you now that I couldn't stand up and talk to 2 people. But this job that I managed to get, my very first job was to lecture to my previous superiors on the principles of management and the principles of control systems. Frightened the life out of me. You can see my hair went white. And after that I worked on a couple of small jobs, but then I was given to set up a costing reporting job on ship repair, where the consultant, the superintendent would be given a daily cost of every job on the ship, and you would get a progressive cost as well, so that when the job was finished he'd have all the details and his account would be ready within 2 or 3 days. As it was, they wouldn't get their account until 3 months after, and that'd be the first time they'd know what it cost. So I worked on that, and it was a big job, but came up with one that I tended to the Auditor General's Department that was accepted totally without change. Now I thought at that time, oh, Joe, I was pretty clever there that I got that, and I did this sort of work. Because in my early life I felt that I did this and I did that. Soon after I found that everything just happens. But I can assure you that wasn't right either. Because you see, as much as we might think that something is happening, nothing is happening at all. It's just this play of consciousness, and certainly it looks as if we're doing things, and it looks as if children are being born, and all sorts of things are happening, but in truth, it's only this play of consciousness. And the sooner that we come to see that, you don't have to do this or do that to come to see this. I was a great follower of Ramana Maharshi, but even his teachings, or his techniques of meditation, I never tried, because that wasn't right for me. All I had to do was search for the truth. That's all. And life becomes very, very simple. Then I can assure you without fear of contradiction that you can then love all these other dream figures regardless of what role they're having to play in this particular lifetime. Because you are the love. You are divine love. And as Father Charles said, you are God. But remember this, even when you see that, the body still has its role to play, and it must continue to do that until the time comes for it to fall aside and you return to, you don't even have to return, but you are that which you've always wanted, that you've always searched for, that you think is only over there in India in the Sai form. But whoever you look at, you're looking at God. And you need to know that. So I say to you in this short session, to be the love that you are. Never doubt that. Many people think they're lesser than others, and some think they're greater than others, but we just have different roles to play in life, that is all. And the sooner that we see that and simplify our lives, and to know that you are that for which you have always searched. And if I spot on time, be the love you are, and I'll say something quite ridiculous. I love you. Because who is there to love whom? There are no others. And Swami said that to me one day. He asked me something and I said, the others are doing that, Swami. And he looked at me with that such a beautiful and sincere face, and he said quietly, there are no others, only those in the dream. Sai Ram.